BlackRock is about to unleash a tsunami of liquidity into XRP, and they're going to do this through an XRP ETF. A lot of people have given up any sort of hope that BlackRock would file for an XRP ETF. There's been a lot of speculation on it throughout the last couple months, specifically going all the way back to even 2023. And today, we actually have a lot of information to go off of and even a lot of facts to base the reasoning behind BlackRock filing for and wanting to have an XRP ETF. So with that being said, let's dive on in and let's actually start off with the overall market. We know crypto is heading into the red hot territory where almost everyone is looking at crypto, talking about crypto, and even buying crypto. Now, the best part about XRP is that it's the third largest crypto asset by market cap. When we think about this, okay, and we take a step back and we put ourselves in the shoes of Larry Fink from BlackRock, we are thinking, okay, well, we already have a Bitcoin ETF. It's been very successful. The Ethereum ETF, a lot of people actually say that Ethereum ETF, it wasn't successful. But guess what? BlackRock even said that the Ethereum ETF was successful. It doesn't have to rally above and be bigger than the Bitcoin ETF. I do think that at some point in time here soon, XRP is also going to be in that same category as, all right, well, what's the next big ETF that could rally against even Ethereum and possibly Bitcoin? But when it comes to Ethereum, I think very soon we're going to see Ethereum actually flip Bitcoin in terms of ETF demand. And that's because of phase 2 of alt season starting. And this leads me into my thought process on XRP flipping actually both of them. I want to quickly interrupt the video just to let you guys know that now is the best time to lock in and jump into the free Discord. If you guys want to get even more exclusive access, you guys can join the premium section for $99.99 a month. And I know that that sounds extremely expensive, but you are not just getting access to my updates, you're also getting access to tokenizers updates and a full team of individuals that are here to help you along the way throughout the cycle. There's a ton of updates in there, access to my portfolio, access to trade updates, chart updates, weekly market breakdowns, mid-weekly market breakdowns, and so much more. So what are you guys waiting for? Join up in the free Discord down below. And if you guys want to get access to those exclusive updates, you guys are more than welcome to join the premium section as well. So let's dive back on in to the video. For years, we've talked about how XRP could potentially flip Ethereum. And even today, that thought process is still live and active across the community for XRP. But the main thing here is that XRP has about $15 billion in trading volume, and Ethereum has about $24 billion. XRP is on fire lately. It's one of the largest crypto altcoins, and it's been one of the most successful ones as well throughout the years. I mean, you got to remember that XRP is well over 10 plus years old, and it has remained in the top 10 ever since. And when we think about that, considering all of what we had to go through with the SEC, XRP is extremely resilient and extremely strong. But it's also the fact that XRP has been outperforming Ethereum and Bitcoin already. And even over here, if we actually look at XRP, it seems as though we're breaking out of that consolidation pattern, which we talked about for weeks on end, trying to get away from this consolidation pattern and get that big breakout. We finally got it with Bitcoin, of course, breaking to new all-time highs. But the trading volume on XRP is up almost 50%. And this year, it's been very successful. And like I said, it has been outperforming Bitcoin. It has been outperforming Ethereum. Even if we think about this, okay, number one, against Bitcoin, clearly XRP right now is in high demand. It's outperforming Bitcoin on the yearly. Also, Ethereum outperforming Ethereum in a huge way. And then a lot of people were saying, all right, well, no, Solana first. Solana will get the ETF first. Why? It makes absolutely no sense to have a Solana ETF first. If I am an asset management company, you got to remember that BlackRock is here for the money. They don't care about, oh, hey, we want an Ethereum ETF because we love the tech. No, they want an Ethereum ETF. They wanted a Bitcoin ETF because they know that this is high demand areas, okay, and that they were going to make a ton of money off of the ETFs. The same goes for an XRP ETF. If we're thinking about XRP, it's outperforming Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana, which also tells us, guess what? There has been a significant amount of buying behind XRP. There's a lot of eyes on XRP. This is the third largest crypto asset, and it has been outperforming the first and the second largest crypto asset. Not to mention almost the entire top 100 in the last year. So if I am BlackRock, I'm thinking, okay, well, we made a ton of money off of the Bitcoin ETF. The Ethereum ETF wasn't too bad. What could be that next big thing? XRP is shining here. We've been talking about the demand recently as well. Okay, and we have here from vet_x0, the XRP globe is lit. And yeah, look at this. It is completely lit up. 200 million traded in XRP in the last 5 minutes. Now, he posted this on the 11th, but this just goes to show you how much demand for XRP there is. And if we think about the institutional focus on XRP and even on Ripple, because again, they're calling it a Ripple ETF because again, we're in 2025 and people still don't know that Ripple and XRP are two completely different things. But regardless of that, we know that there's been a lot of institutional demand around the XRP ledger and even XRP. Ripple has also, announced this. They said, listen, institutions want to tokenize. They want to tap into the XRP ledger. And we know for years on end now that they have been working with some of the largest institutional players out there. So the question here is, if we're thinking about how this cycle is changing, we're starting to see more government focus on crypto. We're starting to see the market really open up. We know that institutional players are paying attention. We see how big XRP has been from the retail sector. With all of this demand for XRP, you have to be thinking about this from an asset management point of view and a business point of view. It makes absolutely zero sense for BlackRock not to file for an XRP ETF and get one trading live. It's also at the same exact time that XRP is breaking out against the Bitcoin, pair. We could see this, right? I think Credible Crypto was the first one to actually notice all of this resistance here, how we were retesting it back through, June. Pretty much the entire month of June was just us retesting this breakout. And we have here that once we, broke over this, nothing could stop the standard. Now, the main thing that I'm actually looking at here with the XRP Bitcoin pair is just getting over these previous highs. This is the May highs. We want to clear this. We want to start creating some higher highs here because we were trading at lower lows, okay? And this is compared to some of these previous wicks back in like February and even back here in December. So we want to see XRP really break out against Bitcoin and create a higher high on this chart. Now, the question is, how long could this take? I actually don't think that it's going to take that long. Probably within the next week, we should have a much larger breakout against Bitcoin, and we should see Bitcoin dominance actually losing this trend line on the 3-day, continuing even lower, which is also going to put more focus on altcoins, which is why I said it makes no sense not to have an XRP ETF filing. And if we think about that, okay, alt season, the biggest time of this cycle for altcoins. Now is the best time. It's the perfect moment for any big player to file for an ETF and get an altcoin ETF trading live. We've been hearing a lot of talks about when is the first ETF for altcoins going live. A lot of people believe it's going to be the third quarter of this year. It could definitely be a possibility. That could also be a top signal. We got to think about it like that, right? It could be a top signal for altcoins and for any altcoin chart. So we got to kind of play this, on both sides of the spectrum. We got to say, all right, well, is it very bullish for price action? Sure, it is. It's going to unlock a ton of liquidity. On another hand, it could be a top signal. That's how a lot of people would look at it. But in my opinion, I think that these ETFs are extremely bullish. They open up more market exposure. They give, traditional investors access to these crypto assets that maybe they don't want to tap into a crypto exchange. Maybe they have a bad taste left in their mouth after FTX and all of this negative news around crypto. So who knows what the deal is that's really kind of holding out a lot of people from crypto. Maybe they don't want to learn the exchanges. So the best way to do this is jumping into a name that they know of and investing into the ETF through that name, like for an example, BlackRock. Now, the thing about XRP ETFs is that we have 18 filings, okay? And some of these are already trading live. For an example, a lot of like the futures ones are trading live, which we don't really care about because futures ETFs, I hate to break it to you, they don't really matter at all because they don't create demand for the underlying asset. So we want spot ETFs only, and that's what we're mainly looking at. And currently speaking, there's only 2 spot XRP ETFs trading live. That's in Brazil and Canada. And let's just be real. That's not the US market. The US market is what we really want to conquer here because the US market is where most of the money actually is. It's the largest economy. It's where a lot of the big money is playing. So that's what we want to focus on here. And the big question is, what is BlackRock's intentions? Well, we already know that there's an old video clip, and Riz XRP actually reposted this. We have BlackRock, XRP, because this is a video clip from Fox News where Larry Fink was asked, are you looking at an XRP ETF? And he said he can't talk about that.
How about an XRP ETF? I know you got Ether out there. How about XRP? Can you answer that?
I can't. And you don't want me to.
I do.
Well, I can't.
All right. They're giving me the rap.
So he can't. Why? Why can't he talk about an XRP ETF? Why can't he answer that question? This is something that a lot of people have brought up for, years now because this is an older interview. But the real question is, why can't he talk about this? Is there, some sort of, issue? Are they utilizing XRP or are they planning to utilize XRP? That maybe there's a conflict here. What's the big problem with him answering that question? Or is it the SEC lawsuit? Okay, because a lot of people think that the SEC lawsuit is still holding back all of these ETFs. We know from Brad Garlinghouse on June 27th, we got the big update that Ripple is dropping their cross appeal and that the SEC is expected to drop their appeal, as they've previously said. The big question here is, when does the SEC drop their appeal? And when they do, because I do believe that they will, is that going to open up the floodgates? Is that the main thing that was holding back BlackRock? Is that the main thing that's been holding back all of these ETFs? That's the question that's unanswered right now. But we already have facts in front of us. And the facts is that the demand for XRP right now is at all-time highs. Even if we go over here to Tucrum's 2x XRP ETF, which like I said, the futures ETFs don't really matter, it hit $120 million in trading volume just this week alone. Now you might be saying, well, Nick, that's not that much. It's only 120 million. It is a lot for a company the size of Tucrum. Okay, Tucrum is a very small company compared to these massive asset management companies or any of the big players around the ETFs. If BlackRock filed for an ETF for XRP, I think that we could scale these numbers 10x. The demand around XRP during that time that we get an announcement around BlackRock filing for an XRP ETF, the second that they announce that, I'm telling you guys right now, XRP is going to go parabolic. And no, that's not me marketing it, selling it. That's not me, creating this overall euphoric, stage for XRP or anything. No, it's the fact that it will go absolutely vertical because it's BlackRock. People are paying attention. People are focused on it, and people have been waiting for it for months on end. So when we think about that, yes, it will be huge for XRP. But the question is, when do we get that? We already did get a big update, right? Remember, Truth Social applied for a crypto blue chip ETF. This did include XRP. Now, obviously, XRP is only 2%, while the rest is 70% Bitcoin, 15% Ether, 8% Solana, which makes no sense to me, and then 5% Crow, which makes sense because, Trump already has a deal with Crow. Which could also explain why 8% Solana, because he did launch his meme coin on Solana, so that makes sense. But 2% XRP is still something to watch for, and it does show us that there is a lot of focus on XRP, and it is in that same category as the blue chip crypto projects. And also, even if we think about XRP, it's also in that category of made in America cryptocurrencies. And if we're thinking about this, XRP is the largest one in this list. It has almost double the market cap of Solana. It has almost triple the market or the trading volume of Solana. So, XRP, like I said, the demand is so high here. The demand is so high. Any asset management company should be looking at this. It's a no-brainer move. And BlackRock is not dumb, okay? BlackRock is not dumb. Maybe they are waiting for this case to finally wrap up because, again, they don't want to have any connection to this. They want to make sure that this is all good. But we already know that there's so many big players that have applied. So I don't think that that's the main thing that's holding them back. I mean, Bitwise is huge. Grayscale is massive. I mean, all of these other names, Wisdom Tree, Vanek, Fidelity. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense for BlackRock not to file for an XRP ETF. And I think that the second that they do, we see a green light of every single ETF, just like we saw with Bitcoin, just like we saw with Ethereum. And I think that we should definitely be focused on this. If I was to say when we would get a BlackRock ETF filing, best guess, Q3. I think Q3 is prime time for altcoin ETFs, including, of course, XRP. So that's when we should really be on the lookout for that. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.